Hey, what's going on, guys? NASCAR Hex here, and I'm back! All the videos that you saw previously were pre-recorded, which I got done at like 4 a.m. before I had to leave. So now, off of the extremely close vote, I'm going to do a video talking about my trip. First day, nothing really happened. We got out before noon, it's pretty good for us, and then we checked the first place where we're camping, and then there wasn't room, so we went to the next place and got a place to camp. The second day, we went sightseeing in the North Dakota Badlands. It was pretty cool, and we went to one of the highest points in Theodore Roosevelt National Park, which was Buck Hill, which was about 2,800 feet up. Went on a few other short hikes before leaving the park. We were trying to find a campsite, and it took a while. We ended up getting a lakeside campsite, which was pretty cool. Took a lot. We took some pictures. It was pretty cool. We had a fire. On the third day, we drove most of the day, and nothing happened except for getting up to 109 degrees at one point. We only took a picture of when it was 108, but it got to 109. We went to two campgrounds that were full, and then the third one we checked was closed down for construction, so we stayed at a hotel. The next day, we visited a gorge in Washington, which was gigantic. Like, it wasn't Grand Canyon size, but it was like probably one step down from that. After that, we went to Roslyn, which is a city where they shot Northern Exposure. It's an older TV show that was canceled. Went to a few of the buildings and ate at the Brick. After that, we went to some of my mom's friend's house where we slept for 2 nights. The next morning, we drove up to the mountains with my mom's friends. When we were driving up the mountains, it was really foggy. Like, we would look out the window where there would be like trees going down, and then there would be mountains like over in the distance, but you couldn't see the mountains. You could barely could see the trees. And looking up the mountain to the right, you could be like, oh yeah, there's some trees, and then there's just fog. That's about it. When we got to the top where the visitor center was, we were above the fog, and it was really cool. It was beautiful up there. We eventually went on a hike to one of the peaks there. It was like one of the higher peaks. We wanted to go up onto Hurricane Hill, but it was closed for renovations or construction or whatever. It was closed. When we got to the top, we saw the fog slowly creeping up the mountain. We started to go back to the visitor center so then we wouldn't be consumed by the fog. And while we were going there, we saw one of the things where it's like a picture and explaining what everything you can see is. And it's supposed to be like, oh, there's all these mountains and you can see these things. And it's like, there's fog and more fog. And that's about it. When we got back, we did a picnic in an area where not many people were at because it's at the end of the parking lot, which is normally where you would go to Hurricane Hill, but that's closed. When we walked down there, it was on the side of a mountain, and it was also above the fog, and it was really cool. At one point, there was a whole bunch of gray jays that flew over to where we were, and some of us started holding out our hands with some stuff. It started with potato chips and then fries, and they flew to our hands and ate it, and yeah, it was cool. One flew to my hand for like a second, like I had a fry here, it flew, grabbed it, left. It was like that. It was kind of disappointing, but I still held a gray jay. That was wild, even though we probably weren't supposed to be feeding wildlife, but oh well. After we were done, we headed down the mountain to the Dungeness Spit. Not the Dungeon of Spit, Dungeness. It was pretty cool to be there. We weren't on the ocean, but there was a lot of water, and there was islands in the distance that we could kind of see. It was really foggy. I also got my feet wet because I decided it would be a good idea to try to pick up a giant log or whatever, a giant branch, and I almost picked it up. And then the way the tide came in it was really high. Like, I tried to pick it up the time where it was really high. Like, it went up really, the wave was big. So I got my feet wet. Yeah, we didn't end up going to the lighthouse that was all, like, at the end of the spit because, first of all, it would have been a really long walk and it was already kind of late. And also, it was a really high tide, like I said before. So we could have potentially gotten stranded out there. The next day, we got to our campsite at 2 o'clock, which was in the Hoh Rainforest. It was pretty moist in there, and we went on some trails through the Hall of Mosses. The mosses were pretty neat as well. We went on a short path which led to a maple grove. It was a small area with some cool trees, and there was mosses, and it was cool and cool stuff. was also one part where there was some water and it was like really still and really clear. It was really cool. After that, we went down to Ruby Beach, which was where we were at the ocean, which was cool. I was able to touch the ocean because we were right there, and there were some cool rocks. And at one part where there used to be water at some point, probably earlier in the day, there it felt like it was almost like quicksand because I would like put my here's the sand, here's my foot. I would like push it down and then it would like stick to my foot a bit. After that, we went to a lodge that wasn't that far away. I had some Dungeness crab mac and cheese, which was pretty good, except there was a bit too much crab. When we were done eating, we went to watch the sunset over the ocean, only to find that there was no sun because it went into the fog and we couldn't see it. And so we went back to our campsite. We started the next day by riding a ferry to a different island where we found a campsite. After that, we went across the bridge to meet up with a cousin who lives on one of the islands. Met up with them and went to a few places, the first one being Mount Erie. The road going up there was really narrow, steep, and had a lot of sharp turns, so it was kind of scary, but we made it up safely. After we got to the top, it had a statue which was supposed to look over and protect all of the islands, or something like that. It was cool. There was a part where you could walk out to where there was a pretty cool view of the islands and the ocean, or water. I don't know if it was the ocean. There might have been the ocean, but I'm not sure about that. There was a bunch of locks on the stand that tells you the information and what it looks like. I don't know, they're just there. After that, we went to a ridge by the water where you could see the marina. It was pretty cool, and no one got hurt by foot or anything, even though we were at the edge, and I kind of scraped my arm, but I had a sweatshirt on, so it didn't actually scrape my arm. It just scraped the sweatshirt. Then we went to eat at a fish place. I ended up getting one chicken strip, but it was like really big. It was maybe like this big. It was pretty good though. Our cousin told us that the island we were on isn't that far away from where Chris Pratt lives, and that he sometimes comes onto the island that we were on. Then we went to a beach, which was pretty cool. There was a giant fallen tree that had a bunch of termites that flew out when we jumped on top of it. The next day, we started returning home by going down through Oregon. One time when we went to get gas for our car, the place we went to was full service. What that means is they pump the gas for you. In the United States, it's only a thing in New Jersey and Oregon. It's only in cities with 100,000 or more people as a way to create more jobs. That night we ended up sleeping in our car. The next day we went to some waterfalls that went into the Snake River, which is where Evel Knievel tried to jump across it in a rocket cycle. He failed though. It was pretty cool, except for the fact that it was like 95 degrees Fahrenheit outside, so it was like burning. There was also, on the drive down, there was a cool little like pond or lake. It was more of a pond. It was cool. A while afterwards, we went to go and eat dinner at Dine-In Pizza Hut. But the first place we checked wasn't a Dine-In Pizza Hut. We went on a short journey trying to find one, going like a city away or so. It took a while. And we eventually did find it. It was pizza time finally. Then we stayed at a hotel and most of us went swimming before we went to bed. Then we eventually arrived in Yellowstone the next day. We bought some t-shirts and learned a few things and watched Old Faithful erupt. It was pretty cool and I barely was able to capture it before my phone ran out of space. After that, we left by going through the mountains, which were amazing. We got out at one point where there was a lake and it just looked cool. After we left the park, we found ourselves at the highest point of our trip, 9,666 feet. After we left, we went searching for a campsite and eventually found one and set up before 10 o'clock. We got up the next morning and got rained on a bit before leaving a bit after 9 o'clock. We drove for a few hours before stopping in the South Dakota Badlands. It wasn't that different from the other Badlands, so it's not a big deal that I had no space on my phone. And nothing happened for the rest of the day until about 11:45 p.m. when we finally returned back to our house. And yeah, that's about going to do it for this episode. You can expect, starting today, videos and stuff to return back to normal. I don't know how this video is going to turn out, but I hope it'll be well. So, yeah, I'll see you in the next video. And until then, goodbye.